So Question Period today was pretty much predominantly focused around, obviously, the Nazi situation and how the House Speaker personally invited a constituent from his riding in North Bay, that's, I'm assuming, where the Nazi lives, is in North Bay, to Parliament on the one singular day where President Vladimir Zelensky happened to be giving a speech, and he was an invited guest by not only the House Speaker, but vetted by, now we're finding out, he was vetted by the PMO, the Prime Minister's office. So they must have known that he was a Nazi. This is groundbreaking news. Pierre Poilievre blows the lid off of the entire situation by literally showing Canadians that the House knew, not just the House Speaker, but the government knew who this guy was. Welcome back to another video, everybody. It's unfortunate. It's unfortunate that this ever happened, but can you blame the Liberals, really? Can you put it past? Like, the Prime Minister, the leader of the Liberals, literally did blackface, and somehow he's Prime Minister of a country. So a Nazi appearing in the House of Commons, was that, like, did anyone suspect that that wouldn't have happened? What's next? Like, I don't know. I really, who's going to say what can actually happen next? Because the sky is the limit with the Liberals. Welcome back to another video, everybody. Before we get into it, I encourage you to give a like and subscribe if you haven't yet already. It really helps grow the channel, as well as turn post notifications on. It adds a layer of insurance to make sure you can actually be notified above and beyond government suppression, Trudeau's own algorithm, about this entire situation and any further updates that we have. So let's take a look at Pierre Poilievre, just really blow the lid off of the entire situation, but as well as other Conservative members adding more pressure, calling for the House Speaker's permanent resignation.
Whereas all parties were required to submit lists of guests to this event to the House of Commons Protocol Office, which should have worked with the government's Diplomatic Protocol Office, the Prime Minister's Department, and national security agencies to vet individuals, whereas the government House Leader today confirmed in the House of Commons that the government had vetted, and I quote, everyone that was invited to Parliament.
Whoa!
Information confirming the individual's involvement with the Nazi Waffen SS was easily found and accessible through a basic internet search. I believe you will, if you seek it, you will find unanimous consent for the following conclusion: that this House condemn the invitation and resignation of this individual at an address to the Parliament of Canada. At this House condemn the Prime Minister and the Government of Canada for failing to do appropriate vetting on this individual, or having done vetting and failed to stop him being admitted to and recognized in Parliament. Thank you.
Wow, so they knew.
The question was for the Prime Minister, because indeed it is the Prime Minister's sole responsibility to guarantee the diplomatic success of major world leaders who come to this country. It is the Prime Minister whose government is responsible for both security and diplomatic vetting of everyone that comes in close proximity of a foreign leader on Canadian soil, particularly a foreign leader who is at war. The government has now admitted that they vetted everyone who was in attendance.
I found out, just like every other member in this House at that time, that this individual was present. This is deeply embarrassing for us as parliamentarians, as Canadians, and it is something that I think all of us take extremely seriously, and I would ask my honourable colleagues not to politicize this moment. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Of course it's politicized.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister is responsible. He is in Ottawa today. He can get on his feet and answer for his massive diplomatic embarrassment and shame.
Stand up.
That minister admitted that the government vetted every single person that was here for the speech. That was the job of the government, which has an entire security and diplomatic apparatus set up for that purpose. Will he finally take responsibility for his latest embarrassment and apologize to Canadians for this massive attack?
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Mr. Speaker, as a descendant of Jewish Holocaust survivors...
Oh, she's just going that route, eh?
...hurt by the fact that this chamber recognized this individual.
Oh, the chickens have come home to roost, someone says.
Sure that everyone feels the same way in this chamber. The Parliamentary Protective Service had the appropriate screening in place to ensure the security of last Friday's event, and that is what I was referring to, Mr. Speaker. But what I can continue to say is that we all must take this seriously because it is hurting many communities.
Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
It is the job of the Government of Canada, the Privy Council Office, which is the Prime Minister's personal department, the Prime Minister's security forces in the RCMP, to vet every single person that comes within proximity of a high-profile foreign war leader who is involved in a very difficult conflict right now. It was the job of the Prime Minister to protect that foreign leader from this massive embarrassment. If the Prime Minister failed to have vetting in place, then that in itself is a massive act of incompetence. We take responsibility and apologize for that.
It needs to be done. It needs to be done, and he needs to resign.
Mr. Speaker, I would again ask the Leader of the Opposition to not politicize this issue. He knows just as well as every
You invited a Nazi
chamber
into the House. Of course it's politicized.
to invite this individual was yours, Mr. Speaker, and yours alone, that you did not inform the government or the Ukrainian delegation that you were inviting him or that you would recognize him. You made that public yesterday. The Leader of the Opposition knows that, and I would ask that he sticks to the facts. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, very good.
Leader of the Opposition.
Well, if the Prime Minister is so proud of how he conducted himself, he would be on the floor in the House of Commons.
Yes. And he would be apologizing for a standing ovation to a goddamn Nazi.
Canadians are sick and tired of a Prime Minister.
Honourable members, that the presence in the gallery, all MPs have duties in the chamber.
Oh, you're going to lecture people, Mr. Speaker?
And that
I want to see Pierre rip into Anthony.
absence is not allowed in the rules. The Honourable Opposition Leader, please continue.
Mr. Speaker, Canadians are sick and tired of a Prime Minister who never takes responsibilities for the things that happen under his watch, whether it's the record high inflation or interest rates or the doubling of housing costs or the constant international embarrassments. He always finds someone else to throw under the bus. Are you that person?
Yeah! Yeah! Woo-hoo. The question. Sorry.
Speaker, I know the Leader of the Opposition doesn't want to rely on the facts, but the facts in this situation are that the government had no prior knowledge that this individual was being invited, nor that he would be recognized. And if they go back and recall what happened on Friday, they will see that it was indeed the Speaker of the House that recognized this individual. We were all caught off guard. It's deeply embarrassing to this Parliament, but to Canada, and I ask that we all deal with this responsibly. Thank you.
If you bring a +1 to an event and it turns out that +1 is a literal Nazi, you're responsible. You're responsible for your +1 at an event, especially with Parliament. It's not just like a wedding or a bar mitzvah, which those things would be obviously also very horrible, but not as bad as Parliament not bringing a Nazi to meet the president of Ukraine, Vladimir Zelensky. It's just insane. And giving 2 standing ovations and trying to decorate him as a war hero. This is absurd. The only way out of this is by resigning and taking full accountability for your actions. This is not accidentally putting the piece of paper in the wrong place or, not turning the lights off when you leave work and then the light bill is going to be a little bit higher because the lights ran in the building overnight. No, you brought a literal Nazi. Like, this is pretty bad, man. This is pretty bad. The only way out of this is a resignation. That's the only way Canadians can move on. I don't know. It's your responsibility.
Mr. Speaker, it's the government that is politicizing this issue for refusing to accept their responsibility. There is only one group of individuals who have control over who has access to a foreign head of state who is fighting for his country's life against an illegal invasion by Russia. And the Prime Minister has a duty of care for that entire visit. Now the government House Leader is trying to change her tune and say, yes, there was information gathered, list was gathered, but vetting wasn't done. What's the point of gathering a list of invitees if they're not doing any background checks?
There you go.
Mr. Speaker, let me continue to lay out the facts for this chamber.
Talking quietly doesn't solve the fact that you had a Nazi in the house.
Neither the President of Ukraine nor the Prime Minister of this country. He was specifically invited by the Speaker of the House, who did not make either the Government of Canada or the Ukrainian delegation aware. We all found out at the same time when he was recognized in the chamber. We are all deeply embarrassed by this. It has embarrassed Canada.
That's not true.
Reiterate our strong support and
that's not true
for Ukraine, Ukrainian Canadians, as well as Jewish communities.
I have to pause it for a second. That's not true. Do you remember when the House's Speaker was announcing that this individual was there, and everybody got up and started clapping before he actually said who he was? So they all fucking knew who he was before the Speaker announced who he was. This is a crock of shit.
Mr. Speaker, the inclusion of an SS member in Parliament during President Zelensky's speech is unacceptable and embarrassing. But what is further embarrassing is an admission from this government that they did not do proper background checks on everyone that was in this
Parliament. They did.
President Zelensky is a target of death from the Russian regime. His security in Canada should be our highest priority. The minister in charge of parliamentary security must be held to account. For if a Nazi was allowed in this Parliament, how can we know that this government took all precautions necessary to ensure the protection of President Zelensky?
And then what's next?
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Who else is going to slip through the cracks?
As I have already stated, the Parliamentary Protective Service followed all screening protocols to ensure the security of last Friday's event. I agree with the member opposite in that it was profoundly embarrassing for Parliament and for Canada that this individual was both invited and recognized. However, as that member knows, and as all members know, it was the Speaker of this chamber that decided to invite this individual and recognize him. We were all caught off guard, and we are all hurting because of it. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Selkirk Interlake Eastman.
Ukraine has survived multiple genocides at the hands of both the Soviets and the Nazis. The Holodomor, the Holocaust, the Siglerneck of the Crimean Tatars. So it's shocking that a self-professed Nazi was allowed into this chamber by the Liberals and officially recognized by the Speaker during the state visit of the President of Ukraine. The Liberals abdicated their duty of care responsibilities to President Zelensky during his state visit. So will the Prime Minister officially apologize to President Zelensky for his incompetence and indeed apologize to all the people of Ukraine?
And to the world, man, to the world.
Mr. Speaker, as I have stated, I think that episode on Friday was one of profound embarrassment for parliamentarians and for all Canadians. As has been stated clearly, the Parliamentary Protective Services did all of the required security protocols to ensure the security of the event. However, neither the government nor the Ukrainian delegation was aware this individual would be present in the gallery, nor that he would be recognized until such a time as the Speaker did that. The Speaker has made that public and clear, and we were owed and received an apology.
The Honourable Member for Selkirk Interlake Eastman.
Well, this is more than an embarrassment. It's disgusting. Zelensky is Jewish who lost family in the Holocaust. The Ukrainian Defense Minister, Rustem Umerov, is a Muslim Crimean Tatar who was born in the gulags. I'm angry that this liberal incompetence is playing right into the hands of Russian disinformation. Due to the Liberals' negligence, the government is eroding support for Ukraine against Russia's illegal invasion. So will the Prime Minister accept responsibility for embarrassing Canada and undermining Ukraine on the world stage?
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Mr. Speaker, as a descendant of a Jewish Holocaust survivor, this is something that is profoundly disturbing and upsetting to me, as it is to everyone in Canada whose family has been impacted by the Holocaust, and indeed everyone around the world. It is not lost on me that the President of Ukraine is Jewish, who also suffered the same way as my family did. But I will reiterate to the member opposite This was not the government's decision, and we had no prior knowledge for this. It was a decision made by the Speaker of the House. He has apologized. We are all owed that apology because it was profoundly embarrassing and distressing.
On Friday, a Nazi was given not only a seat in the chamber, but also given a very warm and honoring welcome. Now, this
2 standing ovations.
In fact, a list of all guests was given to this government well ahead of time and was thoroughly vetted. Yet somehow this individual was celebrated. So does the Liberal government truly expect Canadians to believe that they really had no clue?
That's exactly what he expects. There you go. Yes.
Mr. Speaker, I have clearly laid the facts on the table several times today. And in fact, the only person who invited this individual
was the House
Speaker
Speaker.
To recognize them was the Speaker of the House. The Parliamentary Protective Service followed all security protocols to ensure the security of the event. However, I agree with the member opposite. This should have never happened. This is profoundly embarrassing, profoundly disappointing to all members in this House and to all Canadians. And to that, we stand with all Canadian communities that are impacted and, of course, with Ukraine. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Lethbridge.
There's just no way that this is correct. You have a world leader whose country is at war.
Yep.
He came to Parliament as a state guest. He was granted some of the strictest security that has ever been granted to a world leader prior to him. And yet that individual was here with a Nazi in his presence. And this government would like me and other Canadians to believe that somehow this individual was not thoroughly vetted, that somehow this list was not viewed by the Prime Minister's office. That's what this side of the House, that side of the House, the Prime Minister would like.
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Good job.
In fact, the Speaker has actually already clarified.
Look at Freeland's face.
Expressed that this was his decision alone, that he did not inform
what a shit show.
the Ukrainian delegation, that this was entirely his decision. Mr. Speaker, I cannot, force the Conservative members to believe what the facts are. I can only put them on the table as they are. They have been clearly outlined, and we will continue to stand by them because that is the truth. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. So a lot of people are advocating that Anthony Rota, the House Speaker, is the one solely responsible, and the appropriate actions must be taken either through firing or through resignation. I'd love to know what you guys think down below in the comments. I believe he will resign. I believe it'll happen today, if not by the end of the week at the very latest. This is damage that just can never be fixed. This type of behavior, this event, people will never forget. It's too much ammunition against the Liberals, against the House Speaker. He's going to have to resign at some point. But nonetheless, I'd love to know what you guys think down below in the comments. That's where we're going to end the video. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to give a like and subscribe and turn those post notifications on if you haven't yet. It adds a layer of insurance to make sure you can actually be notified. And I will see you all in the next one. Bye for now. Thanks so much for making it to the end of the video. If you want to support the channel financially, you can do so by checking out the merch shop linked right up there. Or if you want to do something for free, which is also absolutely acceptable and highly encouraged, you can subscribe right there. If you want to continue watching videos like this, you can do so by clicking or tapping right there to watch the next upcoming video. And if you want to watch a little bit of different content, but also Canadian stuff, you can do so by clicking right up there. That's my second channel, House of Canada, also known as the House of Commons Highlights. Thank you so much for watching. I look forward to seeing you in the next video.